name is Evelyn Povar. I'm a CrossFit coach here at Texas Tech, and this is my application to present at TexFit. Today's class will be called Iron Squats. It'll be a 45-minute class of 20 minutes of lecture time, 20 minutes of a workout, and then 5 minutes for Q&A. The objectives for this class will improve overall fitness. Squatting is something that we use very often, and those muscles also translate to other movements in the gym and outside of the gym. The second objective is to build strength. Improving your squat also will improve other movements in the gym as well as movements that build on top of squats, such as cleans. The third objective is to improve technique. We will go over different movements that will help correct squatting errors. These all combine because during our everyday life, we use squats all the time. Every time we sit down or stand up, we have just squatted right there. Going up and down the stairs is another example of a squat movement. So we'll go over each movement during the lecture portion, and then we'll have 3 minutes for each partnership to work on the movement. So one partner will get to be the athlete, do the movement, while the other one's coaching, and then halfway through they'll switch. So that way each participant gets to experience doing the movement and coaching the movement. First, we'll go over the air squat, just simple techniques to make sure your spine stays in a neutral position, making sure you're driving your knees out as you squat, keeping your chest open, like so. And that is the air squat. And then after that, we'll move on to heel elevated squats. For this movement, we just need something to put our heels up. Typically, I use a plate, but we can use any equipment, such as a book or small stairs. It really just needs to be anything about an inch tall. For that heel elevated squat, you're going to get your same squat stance, heels just up on the plate or whatever object you have. Same idea of just squatting, driving your knees out. The purpose of this squat is if your athlete is having problems with their ankles, this helps with ankle mobility and the athlete can now work on their depth. This next movement is a box squat. For this movement, you can use a box, a stack of plates, a chair, anything that you can sit on you can use for this movement. It's the same idea of making sure you're getting a good squat stance, coming down, squatting, tapping the box, and then standing. This is a great movement if athletes are lacking confidence in their squats. They know that there's something beneath them to catch them, and as they progress, whatever you're using, that object can get lower and lower, so that way they can work on their depth as they're moving. This also helps athletes make sure they keep a nice stable core as they're squatting, so that way they don't come to the bottom of their squat and relax and lose their form. The next squat will be a weighted straight arm squat. This squat is really great if athletes are having a hard time keeping their torso upright and their weight back in their heels. For this movement, any weight will work. It can be a barbell, dumbbell, kettlebell, a heavy water bottle, whatever you have on hand. You're going to grab your weight, hold it out in front of you, and then you're going to go down into your squat. Our last movement, you can use whatever weight you have on hand. This is going to be our single arm overhead squat. This is really great to help athletes focus on their core, making sure they're bracing, and this will also help highlight any differences from the left side of the body to the right side of the body as the athletes are moving. So just grab that weight, put it up overhead, and then squat, and come up. And those are the squats we will go over for this lecture. Okay, so this is our heel elevated squat. For that, we're going to bring our feet up onto that plate. That same shoulder width stance, toes pointed slightly out. From here, you're going to be looking at the wall opposite of you, so that way your spine is in a neutral position, making sure you're bracing with your core. And then you're going to come down, thinking about driving your knees out as you come down, and then squeezing your glutes to stand. And that is our heel elevated squat. Up next, we have our box squat. You'll want your heels about 2 to 3 inches away from the box. Same shoulder width stance, toes pointed slightly out. Once again, looking forward, bracing with the core, arms in a comfortable position, driving your knees out to come down, tapping the box, and then squeezing your glutes to stand, making sure you're staying really nice and tight as you just tap that box and then stand up right away. Up next, we've got our weighted straight arm squats. For that, you're going to grab your weight. You're just going to hold it out in front of you. Same shoulder width stance, driving those toes out. driving your knees out, squeezing your glutes to stand. As you're doing this, I really want you to focus on your core. This movement is helping you to brace with your core and making sure you're keeping your shoulders upright and the weight in your heels as you're moving. This last movement, you're gonna grab your weight, bring it up overhead. Same thing, driving your knees out as you're squatting, squeezing your glutes to stand. This movement's really gonna make you focus on your core and what you're doing. That's gonna help you see which side is stronger, which side you need to work on, and making sure you have control over your lower body so that way you can even out the weight as you're squatting. So these movements are really important to help correct some of the common squatting errors. One of those is rounding your back as you squat. It's really important that you keep your spine in a neutral position as you're lifting so that way it remains safe. And making sure athletes don't confuse their shoulder height with their squat depth. They're really making sure that they're driving their knees out, squeezing their glutes, and really focusing on that lower body. Another common mistake, kind of related to that, is letting their core collapse, which is really dangerous, especially if they are under load, because now they have that extra weight on them. So these movements help athletes become aware of their core and making sure they're breathing and bracing as they're squatting. So this could be an example of a really core squat. So this one is rounding your back. Athletes tend to come forward and just try to get their shoulders as low as they can and substitute for getting into squat depth. And then as we see that come down too, there's no stability in their core. They're all rounded, and it's all being placed on their spine. So for the flow of this class, what we'll do is we'll go over one of the movements, for example, the air squat, and then we'll divide out into pairs and let participants try the movement. And one will be the athlete, one will be coaching, so that way one athlete can experience the movement and see how it feels, and then they can switch. And the other one can be coaching them, and then I'll be walking around to help out as needed. Once again, my name is Evelyn Povar. I'm a CrossFit coach at Texas Tech. Thank you so much for watching my video and for this wonderful opportunity.